No, we're here in the gym at the Daffodil Festival, parked out back. Okay. Bye.
Hey, where are my helpers? Hello? Where are my helpers? Hey, girls. Bring those. I'll put them over here. Take that one. This is the youth table, so find the number over there.
He already called. He just called.
Oh, did he? Good. Good, good. Okay.
Just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 5, 5.
I had
What's
to
up?
run back home. I had to run back home and get her.
Just. We're streaming live video now. Sorry. This one.
Streaming live audio.
No, just on this mic. Test 1. Okay. One, two, three, four, five, five, five. 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Test 1. Test 1, 2, 3, 4. Test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Hello. Test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 5. Test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, Okay, KLYC, and we're broadcasting live, getting ready for the To the Root of the Garden show here, and we have our host, Kyle, and company, and we're looking forward to, you're seeing live video on YouTube and Facebook. Glad you're with us this morning.
I even stopped for my coffee this morning because I slept really late and didn't wake up till after 7.
That's sleeping in, isn't it? I didn't wake up until 2:30.
And then I was just looking all over creation. I did something and I was with it during the plant. Yeah, damp to say the least.
We are live. And we are welcoming you here to the Amity Daffodil Festival. This is To the Root of It, right here on KLYC, 1260 AM, your Yamhill gardening show. I'm Kyle, that's Sharon. We're streaming live on Facebook.com and coming to you regularly over the airwaves here on 1260. There's a lot of stuff going on right now, lots of bright, shiny things to distract a person that can't hear his own voice. But it's an incredible scene. We're here usually at this Daffodil Festival. It is, I think it's the 21st year.
Wow, I didn't realize it was that many years.
Yes, and I come here each year anew to see these different hybrids of daffodils, and so many, because the daffodil, it symbolizes spring coming up. Usually some of the first flowers that come up are the daffodils. So yeah, and they've actually been coming up for what seems like a month now.
It is. It's way early with our very, very warm winter that we've had and everything, and less rain than we normally do. They just went, okay, time to grow.
Yeah, it's way too much warm, and going through the predicted weather reports, it looks like we're going to be having 70s and maybe even 80s here coming up in the 1st of April.
I know. One of the funniest things I ever heard was a news broadcaster one time, and they were talking about it, and the man is sitting there saying, it's going to be in the 70s, and his co-person says, 70s? I tan at 70. And then she turned beet red and says, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. But yeah, this is way early for that kind of thing. But we are going to have a deluge this weekend.
Yes, and we do have rain coming, absolutely. It's going to be damp at times, breezy, but nothing like we had last week, where my garden took a while for me to reconstruct it and put some pieces back together. One broken pot. But it was a little breezy.
We almost
power
lost
lines down.
Only lost a couple, but ooh, it was bad.
Yep, and then so then we'll be cooling down apparently coming up, and we might even have a little bit of snow in the higher elevations. But this storm that's coming in is supposed to dip all the way down to San Francisco, so it's just one of those big long skinny things pushing
Yes,
up.
yep.
Yeah.
That kind of a weather trough that just goes through and hit and miss, going right on by.
Yeah, and that's kind of the hit and miss. The past 2 days, it's been spotty again everywhere that I've actually been driving around the state, and it's amazing going 65 miles an hour how different it is. My wife called me yesterday, and we were just 40 miles apart, and she's like, "So is it raining that hard where you are?" I'm like, "It's not raining at all." And that's the way it's going to be. You know, some people are going to get the rain at some time, some people are not. Those are the holes in the pockets. But all indications are for a run of excellent outdoor days, Thursday, March 26th through at least the 29th. So, more sun.
More sun, time to get out and do some more of the things that we can do while the weather permits. So
And
we can
what-
be indoor when the weather's not good.
No, wait, what are those things? Because even the weather that we've been having, I went to Northwest Greenlands of Ecology, and I picked up my compost, and I started putting it down, but I did it when it was raining. And not usually the smartest thing. Soil has this ability to retain moisture, and so it's really hard to shovel.
Do you loosen your soil before you put the compost on so it soaks down instead of running off?
Not yet. But I will do that. No, because what I really did, yes, you're absolutely right. No, all I've done is I've made it from the back of the pickup truck to a pile in the garden. And then
okay.
now I've got to, this weekend,
Right.
go and dump it everywhere that it needs to be. But I did, again, pick a rainy day, and so it was just really
Did you
heavy.
put
Very
a
heavy.
tarp over the pile?
No need to.
Oh, okay.
Far too many things. I think I heard a baby crying, and I don't even know if it made it out of the truck. Maybe it's still halfway in there. That's the way most of my jobs get done. It's like, okay, I'm almost to the end. Oh, baby cry. Let's go take care of that.
I have
and
a
then
lot of those
everything's
bits
done.
and pieces to pick up at my house, too. But my big thing right now is I planted some of my stuff way too early this year. And with the fluctuations in temperature, fluctuations in moisture, everything, it's like I've got to replant.
Yeah, and I see. Here's where I am with that right now. I'm kind of resigned to the fact that if I do not take advantage of putting something in the soil right now, and then putting a little hut, a little small little barrier over it to protect it from the wind and the hard rain, then I'm going to be missing out on another one of those stellar growing seasons that we had last year.
Yep.
And so that's just, I want to avoid having to do that. So I'm not going to put all my eggs in one basket, but I got to put, I feel like I need to put something out there now.
I know. It's kind of in your nature. The sun is out. It's not raining. It's warming up. Got to go plant. Got to do something. So yeah, but getting it out there now and then protecting it is probably a good thing because I think we're going to continue this up and down trend for a while yet. So
Yeah.
protecting what you put out there is a good idea, and it saves a lot of money in the long run.
Yeah, and really all I'm talking about is taking one of those tomato cage things, those metal cheap ones, and then just turning it upside down, putting it in plastic, covering it in plastic, and putting that over the plant.
Sure.
It's a nice little teepee warmth. But I think we just get used to being here in the Pacific Northwest. Rain. It's always going to be raining, but there are cycles of dryness, and we just may be in one of those. So don't have to expect the rain to be here just because it has been in the past.
That's very true, and it's going to be interesting to see what this summer brings. I mean, goodness, Pete and I were even just watching a news broadcast here a few days ago, and we think of it down here on our level with the gardening and everything, but all the folks who have the winter sports things, the skiing and that sort of thing in the mountains and everything, they're suffering, and they're even we're promoting people coming up and going for a hike in snowshoes instead because they can't ski. The water isn't up there.
Let's take up a new sport, but please take it up over here, please.
Yes,
Fill your gas
yes.
up in our gas stations.
Yeah.
Please do something.
And unfortunately, that's going to affect our gardens this winter possibly, because if we don't have snowpack in the mountains, that means we don't have the runoff coming from that through late spring, early summer, and we could have a little bit of a water shortage type of thing going on.
It would be weird.
Yeah.
That would be very strange, but you're absolutely right. So, so weather coming up, fine. finer than usual.
You enjoy it and be outside in the good weather, and you go inside and read a good book in the bad weather.
That's right. And I have been taking advantage of this. I've been working more in the garden this year than I ever have.
Mm-hmm.
But it feels like I've actually been having to do less, because in the past it's all been infrastructure stuff, and now it's just maintenance, pull weeds, put plant here,
Right.
instead of build raised bed. One of the topics, though, that I do want to get into later on in the show, we're going to talk about some daffodils here coming up after the break, but German-style raised beds.
Did you take that class?
I went to that class, and it was eye-opening. So it's a different style of gardening, and what I may call perhaps lazier. But we will get into that right now. We should probably take a break, and when we come back, we'll get more about the Daffodil Festival going on behind us, where we are coming from live here at the Amity Elementary School. You're listening to The Root of It on KLYC 1260 AM, streaming live on Facebook.
There you go.
Going on behind us, where we are coming from live here at the Amity Elementary School. You're listening to The Root of It on KLYC 1260 AM, streaming live on Facebook.
KLYC News, the latest from around the country and around the world.
U.S. out, New York mourns. I'm John Trout. The United States is evacuating 100 Special Forces members from Yemen. Correspondent Nick Payton-Walsh.
The turmoil that their rise to power and the collapse of the government as a result of that has caused has certainly made the Pentagon have to reassess its ability to keep troops and personnel in the country, and it now appears they've made a pretty finite decision.
7 children are dead after a fire in their home in Brooklyn, New York. The victims, between the ages of 5 and 15, their mother and one surviving child, were taken to the hospital with serious injuries. Correspondent Shasta Darlington.
This is a very difficult moment for this community. A lot of people, because it's Sabbath, it's a tight-knit Jewish community, they haven't been watching their TVs, they haven't had their computers on, so they're finding out about this accident on their way to and from the synagogue, and it's just a terrible shock. People are really feeling this.
Witnesses said the mother was screaming after she had jumped from a window. I'm John Trout. A $25,000 reward for the capture of a fired rookie LAPD officer.
Henry Solis is wanted in connection with the shooting death of Salome Rodriguez last weekend. Solis, a former Marine, was barely 9 months into his rookie probationary period with the Los Angeles Police Department when the shooting occurred. He has since been fired. His father admits that he drove his son to El Paso, but doesn't know where he is now.
That's Jim Roop reporting from Los Angeles. A federal fugitive warrant has been issued for the ex-cop. Dr. Ken Gracing of Overland Park, Kansas, went for a swim off the big island of Hawaii and came face to face with something he didn't plan on seeing.
This black cloud appeared, and I wasn't sure what it was. The shape moved towards me quickly, and it materialized into a 10 to 12-foot tiger shark.
He struck the shark with his right hand, only to realize the shark had mangled his left arm. Dr. Gracing was airlifted to Honolulu, is recovering, and plans to leave the hospital later today. I'm John Trout.
Where do you think the strongest muscles in your body are? Abs? Biceps? They're in your eyes. But using a computer can strain them, causing headaches. Now, think about this. Your eye doctor has new technology to combat that. Isn't it time you thought about seeing an eye doctor yearly? Find a Think About Your Eyes doctor near you at thinkaboutyoureyes.com. And keep those muscles feeling fit. Brought to you by the American Optometric Association.
If you have Medicare Part D, Walgreens can put you at the corner of switching your prescriptions and saving some money. That's because Walgreens makes it easy to switch and save with copays as low as $0 on select Medicare Part D plans. Just bring us your prescriptions and we'll do the rest. Switch to save even more today. Walgreens, at the corner of happy and healthy.
Applies to Tier 1 generics for select plans.
To the Root of It on AM 1260 KLYC is brought to you by Recology's Northwest Greenland in McMinnville. You know, it takes more than a pile of decomposing yard debris and leaves to make your soil healthy and your plants happy. That's why Recology actively manages their compost to ensure the highest level of microbial activity. The rich soil amendments promote healthy plant life in your vineyard, your nursery, your yard, and your garden. Recology's compost, which is certified for organic growing, can enhance overall soil quality, provide plants with nutrients they need to grow larger and healthier, minimize the need for chemical fertilizers and pesticides, increase your soil's ability to hold moisture and retain nutrients, feed helpful earthworms, create a buffer for your plants against common toxins in the soil, and control pH levels and support essential bacterial growth. It's more than just compost. It's food for your soil. Northwest Greenland's a Recology company. In McMinnville at 2200 Northeast Orchard Avenue. Call Recology Northwest Greenlands at 503-434-1671. 503-434-1671. Recology Northwest Greenland's a proud sponsor of To the Root of It on KLYC. My, how time flies. Tax filing deadline is not that far away. Contact Patricia Hofer of Out West Tax Service to get ready. Patricia has more than 20 years of experience to ensure that you get the best advice. Stop by for a good old-fashioned sit-down conversation about your tax needs with Patricia and also your concerns. Conveniently located in Yamhill at 150 North Maple Street. That's at the intersection of Highway 47 and Highway 240. Call 503-662-4010. 503-662-4010. Targeted tax savings for you at Out West Tax Service. Patricia Hofer, LTC number 28438 in Yamhill.
Send me a copy of that.
And we are back. You're listening to The Root of It right here on KLYC 1260 AM, streaming on Facebook. You can also go to KLYC.us to get a whole bunch of other links. And if you miss any part of this show, it'll be up on YouTube. So go ahead and search To the Root of It, KLYC. We are coming to you live here at the Amity Daffodil Festival. And we got to go ahead and run around again.
Yes.
Which is always a fun thing to do. But there are just so many colors, and if you've been watching the stream, during the breaks, we've actually been showing the various daffodils out here. So
amazing, different varieties.
I know,
so different.
So let's just for the people, let's give a brief background of what the daffodil is. It's a genus of Narcissus, who was a guy who loved the sight of his own self.
Yes. But it's a narcissistic attitude.
Yep,
yes.
So very beautiful. But they go ahead and they die back after flowering, and then they turn into these bulbs underground, which then go ahead and regrow each spring. And so they're really popular as cut flowers right now, but back in the day they were seen as having medicinal purposes, which they kind of do because the drug is actually derived that helps Alzheimer patients, and it's derived from the daffodil, and it's had its medicinal reasons in the past, but you can also die from eating it, and
not a good idea.
And dogs can die from eating it, and so it's not. The medicinal has kind of gone to you should wear a lab coat before using this.
Isn't it that way with so many things anymore that people used to just absolutely take for granted, and now they know that if they have it in their yard, they have to beware for their children and beware for their animals and how they handle it and washing their hands and things like that. Science has had a whole new take on beauty.
Yeah. Well, I look at the daffodil and the rose too. They're not edible kind of flowers.
No, they're not. And but people dug things out of the ground and they said this is a potato and a potato is good, and they eat it. Okay,
exactly.
So
the
someplace
boldness.
along the line, I bet you somebody did that with a daffodil bulb too and got sick to their stomach and said no, we shouldn't eat that.
And then somebody said, well, if you can live through it, then it's probably good and you're a better person for it.
There you go.
But the thing is it's an herbaceous plant, which I find interesting because sometimes dealing with these gardening terms, I realize I don't actually have the definition in my head. So an herbaceous plant is just a plant that has leaves and stems, and it dies down at the end of the growing season to the soil level, and they don't have any persistent woody stems. So that's herbaceous. So that's an herb. that
word.
is
I
the
never thought of
definition of an
daffodil as
herb.
an herb.
Right, but it absolutely
Okay.
is.
I love the fact that they reproduce. If you put in a dozen bulbs and something doesn't crawl around underground and eat them or infect them or something another, your dozen bulbs a few years from now can be 3 or 4 dozen bulbs because they make these little baby bulbs and then the baby bulbs grow up.
They're
and
like
you've got more
rabbits.
flowers. Yeah. It's really interesting, and how often we're out traveling around someplace and all of a sudden you see some plants that you used to seeing in somebody's yard and you go, there used to be a homestead there at one time.
Just has all of that old
Or the birds carried it.
So what makes these daffodils daffodils? We've got the 6 petaloid tepals, and that's always fun to say, and then the 6 stamen. And as we were just looking over there and we were noticing the different hybrids that they had, that's actually the thing that I was counting, is I was counting to make sure that they had the 6 petaloid tepals, except I was calling them petals.
Right, I do too.
Right. And then the 6 stamens, so then you got to go in there, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then that's essentially what separates the daffodil from the other lilies, because it's in the lily family, the genus.
And you look at how many varieties there are of them here in the background on all of these tables, and there's hundreds and hundreds of them all over the place. You wonder, my inquiring mind does anyway, where if at one time there was this like 1 or 2 varieties and they kept sharing their pollen, and eventually they hybridized themselves by creating new plants, because you see some of them within a certain variety, and instead of a single set of these petaloid tepals, there's 2 sets.
Right.
And so I think that they've just kind of changed
I think
themselves.
they're like it's a plant that's kind of like the fruit fly that can just it changes very quickly and easily, and as a breeder of plants that that happens very quickly, so you're not having to wait generations and generations and generations for some sort of change. These things just happen.
And our garden insects influence that also, because if they get in there and the little bees and flies and so on, and they're crawling around and getting the pollen off of those pestils on their feet and so on, and they go to another flower, they've crossbred a plant.
Right.
It happens. It's interesting to see them, and they are gorgeous.
And where is this? The daffodil care, because that's one of the things that you want to. Because that's pretty much what they are. They're all over the ground right now, and so before they go ahead and die and turn to mush, you go ahead and you cut them off, and you want to put them in a vase, because the mush, when the daffodil dies, it does look kind of pitiful. But you want to start with a very clean vase, as always, when you're using dealing with cut flowers, and then you want to fill it about halfway with water.
Room temperature is important too.
Yeah, why is that? Because you don't want to shock it, right?
Right. Okay. If you get water that is 40-something degrees in the low 40s out of your tap, and you put your flower in it that's been in soil that's much warmer and sitting in the sun that's warmer, it's like going and jumping in a snowbank. It doesn't feel good, so it doesn't react properly.
One of the recommendations is when you cut them underwater.
That is true, because what happens, I know I have to do that with my roses too, because what happens is on that cut stem when you whack it, if you don't immediately plunge it in water or hold it in the water while you cut it, they immediately seize up, and then the water can't get through to nourish the flower.
So it makes it easier. There's like no transition. There's almost no loss of turgor pressure.
That's right. And that's also a reason why if we have them in a vase, and the florist, you get this lovely arrangement or make one yourself or whatever, and in a few days you need to pull them up, hold them in water, clip off a half an inch to an inch at the bottom of them, put them back in, they'll last twice as long.
That's right. Because
the feeding tube gets open.
Yeah, they start to rot down there. Yeah, dying matter has a way of rotting when it's submerged in water. It's incredible. So then you leave the protective husks on or gently remove them. So you can either leave them, but for me, it seems that, again, rotting material, I take them off because it's in the water and it just adds to more.
It does, and
rot.
it can get odoriferous.
Yes, that's absolutely true. And so if you want to nourish the flowers after putting food in there, and my wife wanted to make sure that I recommended that because she had heard that you can use something like a lemon soda, like a Sprite or a Sierra Mist or something. You go ahead and you use that, and it's bubbly, and that's good, and it has the sugars, which is good. So the less shock. You can take that in, and the plant's supposed to last a little longer.
Yeah, it's kind of like giving them an IV.
Yeah, it's a little bubbly. Ooh, that's tingly on my feet. I like the way that feels. I'll stay alive a little
there
bit longer.
There you go. Yep, stimulates.
Yep, and I'm looking. They were setting all of these daffodils are in these tiny little. What are these test tubes?
They're like test tubes, and somebody has gone to a great deal of trouble and made all these lovely little blocks with a hole in the top of them that can fit in. And they're displayed that way, so each plant is identified by its proper genus and everything, and it's in water so that it will last long enough, because these are being judged. And they're separated into categories as to which variety they are, and then that keeps them fresh for the show. They've actually been doing this for a week in here now.
I know, and that does amaze me, because they look like they are still in the ground, and they show no signs of drooping or anything like that.
And we know that if we put a cluster of them in a vase, they're going to just kind of do this little thing where they spread out and they look quite lovely in the vase. But for the judging, they want these guys to be straight up like this, so the long tube does that, keeps water in them, and just keeps them happy long enough to go through this process.
Well, no, that's a good point. So the tube is actually there because that's part of, you want them perky, standing straight up, because a drooping daffodil is a dying daffodil.
Well, it's the one that we have to rescue after the dog runs over him and put him in a vase in the house so we can enjoy him for a few more days.
Yeah, my irises are starting to come up, and they're not really happy. They're like pre-mush right now.
I know. I'm looking at the ones that are growing the best as I thin some of mine out this year. And so I have this great big tub because I'm going to take them over and give them to my daughter-in-law to put in her yard. And I put them in there about 2 months ago, a month and a half ago, and now I've got sprouts like yay high coming up out of this bucket, and I need to get it over to Lisa.
yeah, otherwise you're going to be stuck with it.
I'm going to put them back in the ground so they don't die.
Yeah, so you don't want any of that. So normally the height of the daffodil is going to be about 6 to 18 inches. I do not see any 1.5-foot tall daffodils here by any chance.
Actually,
however, I
look
do
at this
remember
tall
seeing...
guy right over your left shoulder right there.
Oh, yeah.
It's not quite there, but I'll bet it's close.
It's all stem.
Yeah.
What I'm looking at is essentially a green onion that's about 1.5 feet long with a daffodil stuck on the end of it.
That's kind of the way it looks, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're really, really lovely, and they're little. Some of them are little teeny tiny varieties.
Micro ones. They can be like 3 inches
And then
tall.
you have the ones like a large yellow one I'm looking at over my shoulder over here that it almost looks like a carnation. It's got so many petals on it.
And we were looking at one that was like that, weren't we? That was actually, it was almost like a carnation was jammed inside of the daffodil. And it was pretty interesting because
It is.
I see a new one every year, I feel like.
Well, this is a happy place to be today.
This is a good place. And there's a plant sale going on. There's a buffet. It doesn't open until 10 o'clock, so it's not as though if you're not here, you're not missing anything.
Right now is preparation. Everybody is still setting up. They're still in several different areas. There's still some judging going on for last-minute entries and so on like that. So it's just a beehive of activity
see the judging.
in here.
Yeah, there's also a folks walk. So there's a tour going around to the other places. Just driving through Amity is always fun because they have a lot more daffodils exposed than a lot of the other towns, but that's their thing, is the Daffodil Festival.
Yes. And I see way in the back corner back over there is Beth and Celeste still setting up the Master Gardener table for
the Master Gardener
daffodil.
table is here, and we have multiple displays, and it's not just one display, is it? There are other things.
Well,
out
we
there.
have. Oh yeah, the Master Gardeners has theirs, and right next to us is the Garden Club. There are a number of garden clubs that are represented here, and different groups that have a special interest in this. And, of course, the Oregon Daffodil Society is all a big part of this. And it's wonderful that we have this facility at the school here for this.
I know. I can't I can't picture this being any other place, probably because I've been here.
Well, if
for
anybody's
so
thinking
long.
about coming down, it's in Amity off of Rice Street. There's signs down by the highway guiding you in, and it's worth coming down and take a look at.
Yep, I get a lot of pictures here. This is actually where I start my flower picture taking for the year. I can actually go through my rolls of film, and then I can see when spring started because the Daffodil Festival's 500 pictures under it. But there are some frequently asked questions about daffodils that we get at the Extension office, so we actually did go ahead and put out a flyer that is available here. But some of those frequently asked questions are, will squirrels, gophers, moles, mice, and voles eat the daffodils? And the answer is no.
Right.
Because of what we talked about before, it's toxic, and things can die if they eat enough of it.
And they tend to get to know that.
Right. Yeah. Somehow that gets passed along throughout the generation, down through the squirrel generations. You know, Grandpappy ate one, and you just don't want to do that. He was foaming at the mouth for 15 days. When do I fertilize my daffodils, and what should I use? This is a strange one because for me, the answer is never and nothing.
Yeah.
It's like I don't need to because the soil
it's
here is perfect.
survival of the fittest.
Well, survival of the fittest, and there seems to be enough in the soil for it.
We're very fortunate here in that we have the clay base underneath of our soil from the glacial action a few thousand years ago and whatnot. And as we have cultivated the top layers and gotten the topsoil going, mixing with that clay, it releases a lot of nutrients that we wouldn't otherwise have unless we went down to the garden center and bought something artificial.
And speaking of that slow release of fertilization that's happening naturally, that's kind of what you want to use if you do need to fertilize your daffodils. You want to use a slow release fertilizer.
Yes.
And usually you apply that in September, November, but it's lower in nitrogen and higher in phosphorus and potassium is what you're looking for.
5, 10, 10 are the numbers on that. I used to always wonder what do those numbers mean, and it is the ratio of those nutrients within that. So if you saw something else, and it goes to root, plant, and flower, right?
No, you're opening my eyes to it because actually, when you say that the fertilizer recommendation here is 5, 10, 10, so the 5 is the 5% nitrogen, the 10 is 10% phosphorus, and 10% potassium.
Right.
So whenever you look at the bottles for fertilizers, they all have that those three numbers under there, and that's essentially what they're for, and that makes sense. Nitrogen goes to the leaves, and then I know that phosphorus is for the flowers.
Right.
And the potassium
is the plant itself and the root.
Maybe it's well, no, good
No.
job.
So then
did
if
you
you
learn that at the Spring into Gardening seminar?
Actually, I grew up on a farm when I was a kid, a number of years in Illinois. And so, Mama, what do those numbers mean? And Mama said and so if you want, let's just say that you started your plant out, you may want to put one ratio of fertilizer on it when you're getting the plant to get strong
you want
and grow
more
and so on.
nitrogen in the beginning.
And then if you happen to be on a farm and a garden that's what you eat all winter is what you have that you grow through the year, then you want to give it something that's going to boost up the production. Once you've got a strong plant and you fertilize in another ratio, we used to use something that would give us more fruit.
There you go.
And abundance.
That makes a lot of sense. So you're going from the foliage to get the solar energy going, to then doing the root building so that there's enough ability to suck in fertilizer to then put into the fruit. Good job.
There you go.
So with the daffodils, more frequently asked questions that we get here at the Extension office: how do I plant them? How deep? And when? And so what you want to do is you want to plant the bulbs with the pointed end up in September and October, so that gives them a nice time to go ahead and overwinter. And 3 times as deep as the height of the bulb is recommended, because as we were talking about, some of these things get 18 inches, 2 feet long, so they're okay with growing a little bit.
Well, that's another one of the thoughts that I used to wonder about when I got off the farm and started growing flowers and so on in my garden. It says, okay, put the bulb in 3 times. Okay, now is the bottom of the bulb supposed to be at 6 inches, or
Yeah,
is the
or the
top
top.
of the bulb supposed to be at
Funny.
6 inches?
Funny.
Well, it is the bottom.
Wait, okay, I was going to say I don't think it matters, but it's the bottom.
You know what's funny? As much as they recommend that for the best production, this is what you do.
Mhm.
If you dig a hole and took a bag full, I mean a big one, because you want a big cluster here,
Mm-hmm.
and you dig a hole that's 6 inches deep and take a couple of dozen bulbs and dump them in that hole, and then you put dirt on top of them,
Yes.
they will grow.
Oh my gosh. But the 5-10-10 fertilizer that I'm going to have no, some of these plants it's like planting a dandelion. It's good.
Yeah. They
These ones
actually
figured it out.
Yeah, they actually did tests on this, and I read about that one time where you can take something, whether it's a seed or whether it's a nut or whatever it is, and whatever position that you put it in the ground, the roots will go down and the top will come up, and it may end up being a nest shape coming up because it has to make that curve. But you lay it sideways, and the top of the plant's going to grow this way, and the root's going to grow that way. It's just nature.
Yeah, because they don't land straight up.
No,
they don't get put underneath the ground
They do.
straight up. It's just weird.
It is. But it's fun to know that while you do, for the best production, you do need to be careful. The best thing to do is to dig that hole 6 inches deep, set its little bottom down there with the pointy end up, and carefully backfill it, and it'll go faster and
Grow
nicer.
faster, grow straighter.
Faster and nicer.
Yep. And so, can I cut the flowers and foliage after they bloom? When we're talking about daffodils, is it okay to? Because there is a myth out there that once you cut them after they bloom, they'll just die instantly. So the answer that we have here is you can cut off the spent flowers, but don't cut off the foliage until it turns yellow and dies back. And it's because the plant needs the leaves to produce more bulb tissue.
They do.
Because it's stored fat, essentially. You've got stored energy in there. Wow, that brought a smile to your face.
Yeah, it really did. I was going to see if Dave could bring one of those over here to us so we could take a look at it and show this beautiful, beautiful bouquets of flowers that are coming in here.
And
so
I know a girl just brought in a whole bucket. We wanted to know if we could borrow that bucket of flowers real quick. And so if you're listening to on the radio, you might not be able to appreciate this as much as the people that are watching us stream on Facebook.
Just look
and
at
YouTube.
this. Look at this.
And it's just...
Is that amazing or what?
They just went out and picked these.
Well, these young ladies have these flowers over here, and they just picked them this morning, so they're as fresh as they. Oh my goodness! Look at the
They
different.
have the morning dew.
Look at the
and
absolutely
these are actually
beautiful-
daffodils that are for sale.
Ta-da. Here, we'll do a little advertising for these young ladies.
Yeah.
And these are just gorgeous. Fresh picked this morning.
There are
and,
different
look at all the
hybrids in
different
here
ones in
too.
there. Aren't
It's
they
the
lovely?
peach color ones that get me because
Yeah.
it's just the different color.
I couldn't resist. I saw those come in, and I just absolutely couldn't resist. I think that's absolutely
I know,
wonderful.
Now you can't see me as we're
That's
being
all right.
covered
They're
by
prettier
this-
than we
this
are
bucket.
anyway.
No,
But
Sharon, you are beautiful. So why don't we go ahead and take another break as we fondle these, because these ones, I touched it. These ones we can smell, and they do have a nice little pleasant
Yes,
smell.
they do.
But more lovely to look at.
We'll
than-
have to
than
thank
smell.
these young ladies for loaning us this gorgeous bouquet so that we could share it with everybody.
Right.
But okay.
So let's take a break. Right now you're listening to The Root of It, coming to you live from the Amity Daffodil Festival, and things are getting louder and louder here.
Oh,
so
they're getting ready to open everything up here pretty soon, and the activity is a buzz.
We'll be
high.
right back again to The Root of It right here on KLYC 1260 AM.
Thank you.
Listening to The Root of It, coming to you live from the Amity Daffodil Festival, and things are getting louder and louder here.
Oh,
so
they're getting ready to open everything up here pretty soon, and the activity is a buzz.
We'll be
high.
right back again to The Root of It right here on KLYC 1260 AM.
Thank you for letting me rabbit trail.
Hey, hurry in for the Family and Friends Savings Event this Sunday and Monday, March 22nd and 23rd at your neighborhood Sears Hometown store in McMinnville at 1621 Northeast Baker Street. For 2 days only, get an extra 15% off all appliances and floor care and an extra 10% off almost everything else. Plus, find great savings throughout the store, including up to 20% off Kenmore appliances. And that's not all. Stop in and get up to 20% off Craftsman Power Lawn and Garden, plus 5% instant savings or 12-month special financing on riding mowers over $10.99. And all other lawn and garden purchases over $2.99 with a qualifying Sears card. So what are you waiting for? Hurry in and start saving today. Exclusions apply. See the store for details. Sears Hometown Store in McMinnville, 1621 Northeast Baker Street. Offers valid March 22nd and 23rd only.
Time to change the oil? Davison Auto Parts of the Willamette Valley has the oil for you and on special during March. The world's leading synthetic motor oil brand is Mobil 1, and it's at sale now for only $5.99 a quart. Napa Premium Oil filters are as low as $7.99. If you would rather use conventional oil, Davison Auto Parts has that on sale too. Trusted Valvoline oil is as low as $3.79 a quart. Check out other specials on alternators and starters, brakes, and much more. Davison Auto Parts.
Springtime is here. Time to head down to Harvest Fresh, check in with Bob, and see what's on special this week.
We're going into what we call spring fever savings this week. We got some great items. You know, spring is just around the corner, and we've got some hot new items that are coming out. I'm liking what I'm seeing. New crops of stuff coming up. We got purple artichokes this week at $2.79 each, and these guys are just gorgeous looking. We also have local ambrosia apples at 79 cents a pound. We got fresh crop, new crop, California strawberries are out, and they got great flavor. You know, they don't meet our Oregon strawberries, that's for sure, but they are pretty darn good at $2.59 a pint, I'm sorry. And we have clamshell grape tomatoes at $1.39. And we have California Brussels sprouts at $1.99 a pound. Over in the organic section, we have Amorosa fingerling potatoes at $2.29 a pound. We have bunch celery at 99 cents a pound. We have organic bunch Italian kale at $1.99 a bunch. And we have organic Haas avocados at $1.39 each. And for this weekend, I hear it's supposed to be really nice, so we got some great meat items this week. We got Harris Ranch antibiotic hormone-free New York steaks at $10.99 a pound. We have bulk sausage at $4.99 a pound. Your choice of mild Italian, chorizo, or savory sage breakfast sausage. And we make this fresh here at the store every day at $4.99 a pound this week. And to finish off the ad this week, we have wild caught, true caught fillets at $6.99 a pound. And that's a great deal on that. So for people like fish and chips, we got the perfect fillet for you for that. I invite everybody that hasn't been down to Harvest Fresh to stop in and see us. And we got some great items down here. We got unique items, and we got fresh deli, and we have great produce here.
Okay, that's Harvest Fresh, downtown McMinnville. Great food, healthy food, good for you, and great people like Bob to help you out. Tell you what, tell them that you heard about it. Say, KLYC told me to come down here for the Flying Cow chocolate,
there you go.
Please. Thanks, Bob.
Hey, have a great day.
Does pain from arthritis keep you from walking or doing the things you enjoy? Has anyone ever suggested that you might benefit from hip or knee replacement surgery? I am Dr. Mike Vesley, the medical director at the Joint Replacement Institute at Willamette Valley Medical Center. We can help you get back to the activities you enjoy. If pain from arthritis is limiting you, please call me to schedule a consultation at 503-435.
And welcome back. You're listening to The Root of It right here on KLYC. It is, we've got about 15 minutes left in the show, and we can, as we are coming to you live here from the Amity Daffodil Festival, last weekend, the Yamhill Master Gardeners had their Spring into Gardening seminars, and one of those classes that I took, and I want to talk about it, and I know that we're here at the Daffodil Festival, but it was so interesting because I feel like we've been talking about raised beds a lot this winter. And this was just another style of doing a raised bed, and it's the German style of raised bed. It's called Hügelkultur. And
say that again?
It's Hügelkultur.
Hügelkultur, okay.
Hügelkultur. Right. It's just translated as a hill mound cultivation, basically, is what it is. And it replicates the natural process of decomposition that occurs on the forest floors. Whereas with a raised bed that you would normally have, you just go ahead and you get your compost and your dirt and you throw it in there, and that's what you have. Now with this method, the German style raised bed, you go ahead and you take all of your yard debris. If you chop down a tree with all the branches, and you're not necessarily grinding it up or chopping it up finely or anything.
Right.
You're just leaving those big limbs together, and you're taking those big limbs and you're putting them down there, and then you're putting lighter branches on top of it, and then you're putting leaves on top of that. So as you get higher up in the pyramid there, you're getting finer and finer. And then on top of that, you go ahead and you put 6 inches of topsoil.
So you're doing on-site composting right in the bed.
Instead of having a compost bin, and a raised bed that you then put compost in, you just have a raised bed that you compost in. So yeah, it's essentially using your big, you're rotting all of this stuff down, but since you're using, let's say, big tree limbs and branches that take years to compost, when you originally do this, you're building a mound, hence the Hügel in the Hügelkultur.
And it sinks a bit as it's going?
And then it will slowly go down, and you got about 5 years of you don't have to necessarily add more soil on top of it.
That's
because
awesome.
Everything is going down, and this is supposed to be really good for cucumbers and these plants that require, because this isn't that require long trailing space. Because this isn't necessarily confined to raised beds. The way this is naturally or originally done back in Germany is you would dig these long trenches and these swales, and that's where you would, because you clear the fields, you've got these trees, and what are you going to do with them? You got burn piles or something else. So you dig big trenches and you put the trees in there, and then you cover them back up, and then you plant on top of it, essentially. And then
that makes
you
sense. That's the way it was so many years ago. I mean, forever the forests have regenerated themselves.
And
you've got the mosses and the plants and the tree debris and the leaves and everything that fall on the ground. Everything gets layered up, and it just keeps right on growing.
And that's all this is trying to replicate.
Oh my
and
goodness.
it is kind of eye-opening, right? Because think of the space that as a backyard gardener, and you want to do the composting thing, and then you want to have your raised bed. But this way you compile it. And the lady that was teaching this class showed pictures of her German-style raised beds, and she herself is German. I speak German, so I love hearing the accent, and I just wish she would have been explaining it in German. I would have appreciated it far more. It's a very strong language.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So, but anyway, she was showing her backyard, and she had 4 or 5 of these 3-foot-tall raised beds, which are essentially what I have. But I have mine filled with soil and compost, and I overbuilt mine. However, I'm finding out now I just built them for German-style raised beds and did not know it at the time. So she has this row of 5 3-foot-tall raised beds, and inside of there she has tree limbs and all of that. And you go ahead. She has them on a rotation system. So one year, one of these rows rests, and then the next year she empties one of them out and goes ahead and refills it with more debris, because like I said, these last for 5 years.
Wow.
And
That's awesome.
so as the 5 years go by, you start with this mound, and then it gets depressed down, and then you're left with all of this other stuff that you might want to reclaim, but it's also it's basically used all of its energy.
So I was going to say, after a while, all the nutrients in it would be leached out into the soil, used up by the plants that you're growing in it, and so on. But instead of having to take it out and go down and buy a lot of topsoil and compost and everything else, she's recomposting in rotation. I wish I'd been able to take that class.
I know, yeah,
I was busy
you
with
were.
other things.
Well, what were you busy with? Because you said that you had Vern, and Vern was talking about kitchen.
He was doing kitchen
veg.
gardening, and it was absolutely amazing in the class that he had, and bringing out different varieties of vegetables that we all grow, and telling us the parts of the plants that we're throwing away that we could be using that are nutritious and good for us. So it was a very, very interesting class, and I was glad that I took it. But I hear about the German raised bed, that just makes me feel excited. Okay, I'm going to go home and start, instead of hauling the yard debris off to get rid of it, because I don't have room for big composting and stuff in the little residential property I've got now. And I'm going, oh my gosh, I could put all that stuff in there and let it rot. And
Right in there.
right in there.
Right
That's
in
cool.
there.
That is
it's
awesome.
a space saver. So that was one of the eye-opening things there at the Spring into Gardening seminar. Also, one of the things was breeding. Oddly enough, here at the Daffodil Festival, where we are, where hybridization is the norm. One of the speakers was talking about hybridizing vegetables and flowers and anything else that you might, which is also interesting to me because it's not just about growing the vegetables and what you eat. I think the next step is doing something with that, seeing if you can make the purple carrot, seeing if you can make a red carrot or something like that.
Oh, my first experience with that, again, when I was a kid on the farm in Illinois, 1 year in our kitchen garden, which was probably absolutely huge by comparison of what most people do these days here. But we had a mother and us planted our radishes and lettuce and beets and, all the different things that were growing in there. But the row of radishes ended up next to the row of beets that year. And our buzzy little bee friends and stuff that get into the pollen and move things around and pollinate everything moved back and forth between those two rows. And we ended up with radishes the size of an apple that were sweet like a beet.
Oh my gosh.
They were absolutely amazing.
Do not tell me that I can do this, because this is something now I want to do.
You can, but one of the things that they do, the bees do this accidentally, and the other insects that pollinate in our gardens. But you can actually get out there, and I haven't tried it, I've been tempted to try it, but you can get out there and, if you've got the patience of Job, take the paintbrush and get a little bit of the pollen from here and put it over there, a little pollen from there and put it there, and just see what happens. But those were amazing. I'm not a huge radish fan, but those huge, and they were the standard ones that are red on the top and white on the bottom. I forget what the name of them is, but yeah.
Yep, so much, and I'm going to be, those are the next set of books I get, are hybridization of vegetables and how to do that, because I'm still, for the long-time listeners of the show, I've got this thing with beets where I want to like them, but I can't. And so you're telling me I can mix it with a radish and somehow make it sweet or...
I love beets that are the pickled beets. I can use the standard ones if they're cut up with other things. But one of my nieces was at the house one time and we had beets, and she says, why does anybody want to eat something that kind of tastes like dirt?
Right, no, and that's exactly my thing, is a beet tastes like dirt. You cannot tell me that it does not taste like dirt. It's like, oh, well, they're so sweet. Yeah, but they taste like dirt.
Yes.
That sweetness comes with dirt.
It does, and pickled beets are really, that's
still
stimulates
dirt,
the old taste.
Right, the vinegar tries to get rid of the dirt, but it doesn't. It tries to blanch your tongue with vinegariness so that you get past the grit of the dirt, but it doesn't work.
Yeah, but that cross-pollinating thing, and that's how we get so many different varieties of so many things. I mean, look at even strawberries. I didn't realize until I started doing Master Gardeners how many varieties of strawberries there are. And some of them are ones that you can just put in and grow and share anytime you want to, and some of them are so special they're patented and you can't do that.
Right. Don't, because the company lawyers will send you a letter and then they will send themselves.
Oh, we don't want to go there.
Right. But strawberries, that's another crop. That's another good crop for the German-style raised bed. Apparently, it's one that's designed for it. And the thing about this, the German-style raised bed, going back to it for a moment, is the mound, because it's essential to the beginning. And it's not something that, as a gardener or a grower of vegetables, you might be used to seeing, because you're used to seeing flat rows.
Right. Back on the
and-
farm, you've
and-
got the mounds.
Right, but this mound is very, very helpful. So it's
Yes.
just, it takes something to get used to, especially if it's covered with strawberries. I picture it being kind of pleasant to look at, a mound of strawberries
Okay,
coming
back to
out.
daffodils. Do you ever go out to some of the daffodil festivals that are on the farms or the tulip festivals when
Mhm.
they've got all of that stuff growing out there? You look at the rows. They're not a flat field. They go up and they go down. They go up and they go down because the rows are mounded and the crop is planted in the middle of the mounds. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One of the soil will be warmer sooner when the sun hits it, and part of it is that the water can be less and it's getting to the roots because it's in the swale down below.
I see.
So
Mounds are helpful.
mounds are helpful, yes. And if you've got a plant that is going to be the long leafy ones like the cucumbers and squashes and stuff, it's on a mound. It's got some place to drape over.
Yeah, water will flow
I'm so
down.
excited about
Yep,
this.
the German style raised bed.
I've got to pick your brains some more on that one.
Well, we're going to take our final break here. Again, we're coming to you live from the Amity Daffodil Festival here at the Amity Elementary School. When we come back, we'll touch a little bit more about the daffodil myths and close things out. But right now, you're listening to The Root of It right here on KLYC 1260 AM. Final break here. Again, we're coming to you live from the Amity Daffodil Festival here at the Amity Elementary School. When we come back, we'll touch a little bit more about the daffodil myths and close things out. But right now, you're listening to The Root of It right here on KLYC 1260 AM.
Yay!
Time for a look at sports from KLYC.
This is your NBC Sports Radio update.
Kentucky's march toward their 9th NCAA championship continues today, 2:40 Eastern, as they face the Bearcats of Cincinnati. That followed by number 2 Arizona, number 10 Ohio State at 5:15 Eastern. And just underway, number 11 UCLA, number 14 Alabama Birmingham. One worth watching tonight in the association, Portland will face off against Memphis at 8 Eastern. From last night in the NBA, LeBron James led the Cavs past the Pacers 95-92, finished with 29, 13 of which came in the fourth quarter. The win clinches a playoff spot for Cleveland. Elsewhere, the Thunder with a nice win over the Hawks, 123-115. Of course, with Kevin Durant on the shelf with the injured foot, Russell Westbrook had to step up again. Another triple-double. 36 points, 14 assists, 10 boards. Pete Fox, NBC Sports Radio.
And now, another golf confessional, brought to you by Golfsmith. A man told his boss he was going to the proctologist so he could skip out of work and try the latest golf gear at Golfsmith. This gave him ample time to have his ball flight analyzed in a Golfsmith hitting bay and then have their experts custom fit his new clubs. It was a perfect plan because nobody wants to know about your appointment with the proctologist. Free custom fitting, part of the Golfsmith Fairway. Golfsmith, anything for golf.
Honda made Asimo, the world's most advanced humanoid robot.
Hello.
And the Honda Dream Garage sales event, where you could get a great deal on a Honda Pilot, the most durable, longest-lasting SUV in its class, with room for up to 8 humanoids.
Are we there yet?
During the Dream Garage sales event, get 0.9% APR financing for well-qualified buyers on a 2015 Pilot. Now, at your Honda dealer.
Durability based on longevity. Longevity based on IHS Automotive, Polk US Vehicles, and Operation Registration Statistics 2003 to 2013. See your local dealer for financing details.
If you haven't tried Banner's Restaurant in McMinnville yet, make it a point to stop by the next chance you get. Check out their daily specials. At Banner's Restaurant, you can enjoy everything from burgers to pasta to seafood to steak. Banner's Restaurant can handle special parties up to 50 people, and they also cater to special dietary needs. If you have a special request, let them know. And mention you heard this ad on KLYC and get 10% off of your meal. Banner's Restaurant, McMinnville, near the Dollar Tree. Great food and great service from people who want to make your visit enjoyable. And don't forget to ask for 10% off with the KLYC radio special at Banner's Restaurant.
We don't have a pen here.
And we're back. You're listening to The Root of It right here on KLYC. Closing things out, being live here at the Daffodil Festival here in Amity. And there are a few folklores, there are a few myths surrounding the daffodil. And so just to talk about a few of them, you're supposed to be generous when giving daffodils as gifts because it's bad luck to bring a single daffodil. Misfortune will fall upon the household.
Oh, you're kidding. I
No,
hadn't
it's so
heard
bad.
that one.
No, and as if we could,
You're not
we
making
couldn't
that up,
pan
right?
the camera over to my wife and my daughter right now that are now purchasing bundles and bundles from the bucket of daffodils that we had earlier. So no misfortune shall fall
No, it
upon
shall
our
not.
household.
It shall not. No.
As I knock on wood.
Yes.
The state of Maine has a superstition about the daffodil, which says that when pointed at with an index finger, it will not bloom. Could you imagine if you pointed your finger at the daffodil and it would not? Or even to believe that you have that kind of power. That seems so ludicrous.
It is crazy. The one that really kind of got me was this one, significance of the daffodil in different countries.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and it says, in Greece, the daffodil is known as narcissus, which we know.
Right.
In fact, we refer to the narcissus as a variety of the daffodil
It's
type
the
of thing
genus,
usually.
yeah, too, yeah.
But it says, they call it in Greece the little teardrop.
That's weird.
And Narcissus fell in love with his own reflection in the pool. We've all heard that, right? Narcissus attitude, right?
We've all been there.
He drowned, starved, and died.
That's right.
That's not
So
a
you know
good
what we
thing.
should do?
Yeah.
We should make a flower and name it after him because it makes a little bit of sense, but it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. To
No,
me.
it doesn't.
But
No, it doesn't.
But that is definitely where we get the name for.
The single
for it.
daffodil is bad luck, though. That is just crazy.
I know. Can you imagine? Sometimes it's bad luck. Sometimes it's bad. It's bad luck actually for the bride to hold or be given a daffodil on her wedding day because it represents unhappiness, sorrow, lost love, and vanity.
How can anything that's so beautiful as a daffodil be bad luck?
Well, how can
That
it
is
also mean spring and rejuvenation and
Exactly.
rebirth? And
Yeah.
it can mean so many. I think it's because, and you know what it is? It's because it originated in the Iberian Peninsula. They're in Spain and in Portugal and that area in the Mediterranean. So it has a different. It's been around a while. Egyptians were using it as funeral wreaths. So I think over 10,000 years of human use, it may have started meaning different things to different people in different places. But there are a lot of things.
The drooping of the daffodil is representative of Narcissus hanging his head.
Oh.
Oh, my goodness.
That makes a lot of sense. And actually, you know
He's
what? A lot of cancer societies use the daffodil as their symbol because it stands for love, hope, and joy of sunshine.
I know. Some people look at it, okay, is my glass half full or half empty?
Right.
Okay, it's beautiful. It is the first indicators of spring in our yards and gets us all excited about thinking about planting and stuff.
Unless you have a lot of them, in which case you wish they were dead. And then you start thinking bad thoughts. Then they become a symbol of bad.
I just saw a cute thing. Your wife just decorated your son's stroller with daffodils.
Oh, that's
Is that
great. He has no idea. He's far more interested. You know, he's got two screens going right now. He's got his iPad and he's got the wife's.
Can you believe that? The electronics that our children can
phone
handle.
going on. Right.
Celeste, she's going, oh, great, we're on camera.
I feel like I should throw him my phone just to see what he does with it.
Yeah, that's just too cute. I had to see that one. But yeah, back to the folklores. Okay, and
so the Daffodil Data Bank accounts for over 13,000 hybrids of daffodils.
Wow.
I know we're looking here.
We're
like,
looking
there's
at
a few
hundreds,
That's
but
nice.
oh my goodness.
13,000, and that's just the ones that they're talking about. You know, you've got the backyard gardener that, as you're saying, they're just instant hybrid and doesn't even know that they have a completely new hybrid of it.
I wonder if any of my daffodils will automatically cross themselves and make a new genus.
That's the only reason I actually keep mine around is because I'm expecting a peach one to pop out at some point, but no, they end up being the same ones.
Yeah.
year after year.
It's interesting. It was interesting, but I'm going to have to read all of these. I hadn't read these lores about it and stuff, but I'm definitely going to be looking at that. That's just awesome. Yeah, I'm one of the things that I received. I got a gift basket from our Spring into Gardening, and one of the things I got was a garden planner. It's about this big, about that thick, and it's got all these pages and pages of planning your garden and everything. And I think planning is good to a certain degree, but I like spontaneity also.
I don't like planning. I think that's what it is. Planning takes the use of the frontal lobe, which I just don't engage enough, apparently, to get the full benefit of having one. So I'm spontaneous. Absolutely. Yeah. It's like, well, of course that should be there. Or let's say that I also, I won a raffle.
You got a tree.
I got a big cherry tree.
Is that a cherry tree? I thought it was, but I wasn't sure. I didn't get a chance to look really.
And the thing is that I wanted the bamboo, but the lady that was after me also wanted the bamboo. And because I have trees all over the place, and I really, for having 20 acres and not having a place to put a tree, that's the boat I'm in right now. I mean,
well,
because I've won so many trees.
Yeah, depending on the variety of the bamboo, you may or may not want it to.
Well, I wanted the bamboo because in my garden I want a natural fence, and I needed to start somewhere.
Are you going to put it in containers so it doesn't travel?
Yeah, well, I wanted to travel. I wanted to go up and down and everywhere, and
with 20 acres, I guess you can do that.
Right, exactly. If it gets out of hand, to just whack it off or something. Yep.
My son just spent several $1,000s clearing it off of his property.
Yes.
So you either have to contain those roots so it doesn't travel.
Yeah.
Put it in a border because they stay fairly close, or put it in one that doesn't travel quickly.
or give it to the next person and get the cherry tree.
There you go. And the cherry tree is awesome. I was so excited when I saw that.
It's because it was blooming.
Yeah.
And it was sitting in its pot.
It was happy.
Blooming, and I get stuck. There were other trees that I could have picked. There were other plants that I still had a lot to pick from, but the cherry tree will always call to me, especially when
Celeste got one too,
right like that. Yeah, she got one of these arborvitaes that are the yellow looking ones.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, that's cool. Very, very good.
Yeah.
That was a fun event, and this one is a fun event, and it's just really exciting to be here and be part of it. I mean, they've got wonderful food kitchen. It's students that are doing, working in the kitchen and waiting the tables and everything, and they've got these lovely little daffodil aprons. And
they actually have the high school students running the whole event, and it is exciting to see when students do things like this.
Truly, truly is.
We are at 10:05.
Oh.
And we are done with this radio show, but that also means that the doors are open, and it looks like it because people have started coming in here.
They are.
Again, the Amity Daffodil Festival runs today
and tomorrow.
So
10 to 4.
If you have a chance, come on down 10 to 4.
Yep.
And bring your camera because it's always nice to see the pictures. And there's also a plant sale going on, benefits going towards the school also. But if you want to go ahead and catch the show on YouTube, go ahead and search To the Root of It KLYC. For now, we're going to go ahead and sign off. You've been listening to us right here on KLYC 1260 AM, and as my friend Ray says,
keep your tools sharp.
Thank you.
And happy gardening.